Hello, 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 how are you? I'm fine, and I hope that you are too. Yeah, ha, ha, ha. I know it was kind of corny, but you know what? I feel like doing it, so I did it. Anyways, glad to be back with you guys again on today. Listen, we have got a lot to talk about. Oh, my goodness. We got some stuff to talk about, y'all. As y'all know, I've been talking about these lying pastors, deceptive pastors, and you know, it's, well, I'll just say this. It has been a very, very interesting and developing topic. Yes, it has. And we ain't going to put a whole lot of preliminaries in tonight. We're going to jump right into this thing because we got some stuff to talk about, y'all, okay? All right. Now, first, let me start, as always, thank you guys for your likes and shares of the videos that I am uploading. You guys supporting, I appreciate that. I really do. As I've always said, it helps the channel to grow. And so without you guys, then there's no channel, there's no me. So I appreciate you guys for supporting me and all that you do to help the channel to grow and get my, platform out there. All right. That being said, moving on. All right. We got some stuff to talk about. Okay, listen. The last several videos, I talked about some very interesting topics evolving around pastors, not just pastors, but pastors who are deceptive, pastors who are liars. And I'm not shocked and really surprised that there are people that have actually dealt with this and have experienced some of the stuff. Matter of fact, a lot of the stuff I talked about is not of any surprise to me. I think what is the surprise for people is actually hearing people talk about it. Most times people clam up, they don't really want to talk about these issues because they're so sensitive. And in some cases, it's just downright embarrassing. Some of the things that, you listen to and and have witnessed in some of these churches that these pastors are doing, some of this stuff is just frankly embarrassing. It's not something that you would want anybody to know about your pastor, but you know what? There's healing in knowledge. And, knowledge is a wonderful thing if it is at the end of the day to the destruction of a situation or circumstance. Sometimes that has to happen. Sometimes kingdoms have to fall down in order for healing to begin. And so we've been talking about some things, and there's been some healing, and there has been some exposure. Because up until some of you have heard some of the things I've talked about, pretty much it was just unknown. Well, let me just say this. It wasn't unknown because there were those that did know. They just refused to speak on it. So we'll say that. They refused to speak on it. Well, sometimes you have to have somebody that just steps up to the plate and just calls spades spades. And we're going to get into a little bit more of that tonight. On the last video, I was talking about the pastors and, I have to say this, on the last video, and some of you were affected by this, and, I've heard many things said and comments made, but, you can't take the blame for a no good pastor. What do you mean, John? Basically, I do understand, and don't let me, sit here and act like I'm just totally, uncaring or, don't understand or don't have an understanding for situations for people. I understand that everybody is not as vocal as other people are. Some people are afraid, to speak up. Some people are afraid. Some people feel, threatened to speak up. I get it. I get that. Not everybody is, an individual that will speak up in the name of justice or for what's right. My videos, they're not meant to pound, but they are meant to bring an awareness. And that I'm going to do because I think in the churches it has gone on far too long that the members have sat and they have sat quietly in the midst of this stuff. And it has gone on for years and years and years. And if you have one or two, I can understand. But when you have a predominantly majority of the people that sit and simply keep their mouths shut about a lot of the things that I've talked about, then that's a problem. That's a problem. I talked about the members, how you all have been enablers to the pastor, how you have enabled him to really pull off this stuff. In fact, without you guys supporting, without you guys enabling the pastor, he wouldn't be able to pull off a lot of this, because if it took one or two of the members to take a stand and say, hey, Pastor, I'm sorry, but you know what? This ain't of God, never was of God. And the program that you're trying to run here, you know what? You can kick me out this church, but I'm going to stand up and have my say. I think oftentimes, and I've said this, that we want to be a part of something so bad, and we don't want to ruffle feathers, and we dare not, rock the boat, figuratively speaking. So we want to stay in calm waters, and those calm waters, as long as it's not rocking the boat and we're in safety of a boat and we're not in the, jeopardy of, getting kicked out of that boat, we feel like if we get kicked out that we can't swim to shore. I don't know what it is. I guess it's that codependency. Spiritually, you have a codependency to the place that you feel like, you need to have and you need to be a part of some type of organization. Forsake not thyself to assemble. Yeah, I get that. But you can assemble in many different ways. We're assembling now. There's many of you, thousands of you that are going to be looking at this. This is an assembly now. I'm not in you all's presence physically, but I'm here with you all in spirit. I'm here with you guys, in mindset. So this is an assembly. We are assembling now. And I'm, again, not trying to, make this a church or a church environment. But sometimes we feel, and we've been told, and we have been bruised and battered and hit over the head with legalism in the church for so long that we have, I guess, followed that doctrine. And I did say doctrine of man's in the last video. We followed that man's doctrine for so many years that we don't think that, there's anything else. And, oftentimes if people would simply just look and read, you'd be amazed. I know that there are Caucasians and there are others that may see this video, but I have to say this because it's just a true statement, especially amongst us African Americans, black folks, as I just like to call us black folks. You want to hide something from us, you put it in a book. That's nothing new. We know that. It's been that way. And there's a lot of times why we won't pick up and get ourselves educated about anything in depth, let alone pick the Bible up. And, that's sad, but it's true. And so in church, a lot of times there's things that I guess you are so dependent on what a pastor tells you that you won't pick up that book and you won't read it for yourself. You won't study it. And so a lot of times, basically what you hear over the pulpit is pretty much that's the gospel. Having a leader does not make you obsolete from studying. I guess we feel that because we're being led sometimes that we give the responsibility to the pastor and totally give the responsibility to him to lead us. But then, you have to at some point, break off and seek out your own soul salvation. You can't do that with your pastor. That's an individual thing. A lot of the things that I talked about and a lot of things that I was sharing with you guys comes from experience and just comes from awareness. There are a lot of situations that are playing out in today's church that would not be playing out if you had people that would stand up and they would stand strong, bond together, and pretty much set a standard. I'm often amazed at how we have so many standards in the church, but the very simple things like, fairness. I talked about all of this stuff in the first 3 videos. Fair treatment, people being ostracized and kicked out of the church. And, if the pastor can't control you and he can't run you, then, you are a threat to his kingdom. And so, you're of no use to him. It's amazing how pastors, they will, when they get tired or they've used an individual or a member up, and they have taken that member's love, time, money, resources, and efforts, and, their talents, and they utilize those talents. And basically when they get through with you, then they just discard you, throw you out, as if, hey, thank you for your services. You are dismissed. A church is not, and I do repeat, a church is not a corporation. When you come into a church is a place for you to be taught in the gospel. It is a place for you to be spiritually fed, for you to grow spiritually, for you to grow naturally at that, and a place that you are attached to in this lifetime, pretty much for the most part of your lifetime. So, I was really amazed on the whole concept of this throwing out of church. And that really, I went real deep on that. And you guys know, for those that have seen the 3 parts that I've done already, how I touched on that. I gave some examples too of a pastor who basically threw out somebody and threw him right out the church with no care, no concern as to, what the person's going to do, where they're going to be at. And, when you don't have any love, you just don't have any love. I don't care what your title is, apostle who, bishop who. When you have that type of respect of persons that you can basically, throw somebody out of the church to the point where you don't care nothing about the individual to see about their well-being, you're not a pastor that is one after God's own heart. God has never, and I do repeat, God has never set up a program in the system of holiness and the system of salvation to totally do away with anybody. I touched on, blaspheming of the Holy Ghost is the only sin that you cannot be forgiven for. But outside of that, God doesn't have a system in place that just disqualifies somebody and throws them away. However, if you are a pastor who has played with God, you have used the system to your advantage, and you have used the system to gain, and you have used the system to pretty much prosper by the people's labor and love, then yes, sometimes God will pretty much be done with you. And, in a lot of these churches, you see these pastors, I'm going to tell y'all something. And some of y'all may already know this, but I'm going to tell y'all, this is a different time. This is a different time. What do I mean? It's a different time in that judgment is coming to the churches. And it's starting with the pastor. Yep, starting with the pastors. See, these pastors have played so long. They have played with God for so long. They have destroyed so many lives, and they've done it all in the name of holiness. Have preached the gospel, have utilized the scriptures, have even required and have looked at other individuals and had an expectation of the very things that they're preaching about, yet the whole time they're not living the very thing they're teaching. Doing God knows what. I touched on a lot of this stuff. It's to some people, it's a shock, but the big reveal is coming, y'all. The big reveal is coming. See, these pastors, they thought that, all of these years that they've been doing all this ungodly stuff, all these years that they have used the church, they have used the people, and literally have just ran a slave plantation off of the people's love. Imagine that. Imagine that. You have gained and you have ran your scheme and your scam all in the name of love. Not the love that I'm talking about from the people. The love that I'm talking about is the people that have the love of God, and they have so much fear for God that they will please or try to please a man of God, so-called man of God. And who prospers? Who benefits from all of this? The pastor. So imagine that. He has prospered off of the love, the sincere love of the members. He has gained off of the sincere love of the members. Well, there are a lot of things that's brewing, y'all. I told y'all in the last videos that I have put up, I said that the rabbit hole goes deep. It goes deep. There are things that are going to be revealed in this dispensation in time. And this is, as they said, the old adage, the chickens have come home to roost. And a lot of these pastors, they have done so much over the years, have done so much, so many ungodly things. They have had their fill and they have had their, their gain and have just, wrecked so many people's lives and doing every forsakable thing that you could imagine right in the church. A lot of this stuff, a lot of what I heard and a lot of people that have talked and have spoke on these issues and the things that I've heard, it's amazing. You think and you say to yourself, could anybody else be going through, or could anybody else have went through such devilish things and such devilish experiences? But you'd be amazed. Many of you tune in because a lot of the things that I'm telling you are common to you. You've seen this or you have experienced it, or you know somebody that has experienced it. This is real, people. This is real. A lot of this stuff, is pretty much swept under the rug because the members they just refuse to deal with it. And I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, the reason why they refuse to deal with it, because you have a family structured church and a foundation that is such of a family foundation. I talked about the propheliers in last video. Typically, those propheliers that you see in those examples that I gave you, 9 times out of 10, they're connected to the pastor on some level. And when I say they're connected to him, I don't mean that, they're just church members. They're usually going to be connected by the bloodline, some type of family member. That is a common denominator in these cult style churches that you see. Everything is always internalized and it's kept in the church. It's family structured and everything goes on. When I tell you everything goes on, I mean everything goes on. The dark, sick, twisted history of that church that you have been a part of. And some of the things that you all know about and some things you don't know about. And some of y'all, you know about it, but you have just sworn and taken an oath to keep quiet about a lot of that sick, twisted stuff. At first I was kind of perplexed and kind of bothered by a lot of that when I first became aware of a lot of the things that I'm talking about. And I asked myself this question: how could that be possible that in a church where the very God that they are shouting and singing about and, speaking in tongues and running around the church and, how could they in the same mindset and in the same mouth praise a God with the awareness of all of these devilish deeds and the unanswered accountability for the man that they are sitting up and worshiping? And it became very clear to me. These are individuals that, the Bible talks about preachers that, you have those preachers, the ones that you want to hear. You have itching ears to hear a certain preacher. Sometimes that's a family member. And we want, and I said it again, and I'm going to say it again, we want so bad to have a hero and a champion. We don't care. You have to be pretty gone anytime that you know that your pastor has a lineage and a history of every godforsaken thing that you can think of. The man is an adulteress. The man is a liar. The man is a deceiver. The man has been involved in incest. Imagine that. Incest. sleeping with your own blood relatives, fooling with your own blood relatives, right in the church. And then this same man, your pastor, will be behind closed doors with female members, and he'll have his, what I call, the laying on of hands behind closed doors, and then come out into the sanctuary and want to lay hands on them again and pray for them. Your mind has got to be pretty warped and twisted backwards for you to know and engage in such things and know these things about your church, your pastor, and allow this man to call himself an apostle or bishop or whoever and come out here and he done fooled with you and laid hands on you behind closed doors and in the dark, and in the sick, twisted imagination of his mind, he tells you or he threatens you that if you open your mouth, something's going to happen to you. Or in some cases, he may even blackmail you. Hold something over your head just so you keep your mouth shut. Boy, it's amazing. Some of these pastors, they think that God don't know. He don't know about it. Somehow they have in their, I guess, deeds, they felt like that somehow God sitting on high and looking low, he somehow missed this stuff. For 30 and 40 and 50 years, he done missed all this. And your track record, somehow or another, you have, I guess, just erased all this stuff out your head, and church members have pretty much erased all this stuff out their head. And then, you stand up in a sanctuary and you talk about a God who's just, mind you, a God who's just. You talk about sinful nature. However, you seem to have missed all of this. All of this seemed to have slipped by you. And yet we sit up and we can be in this same type of church, in this same type of environment, and we don't have any problem in rebuking other people. We don't have any problem pointing out anybody else's sin. We don't have any problem putting anybody else on Front Street and putting the channel on blast. We don't have no problem doing that. Yet your conscience is void of the very lifestyle you live in. That's amazing to me. That is amazing to me. Now, I think that, people, that right there is one that I hadn't quite figured out yet. Yeah, I know it's a sinful nature. I know when your mind is backwards. I do know that you're a reprobate. Yeah, I got all of that. But then when you can sit up and you can pretty much throw people out of churches because of seemingly what you say there's a sinful nature or sinful, activities going on. And you think about the sick, twisted, dark history of the church and all the things that have been going on in the church history, one has to really realize that at this point, what you're dealing with, you're just dealing with demonic influences. Demonic influences. These people are demonically influenced, and they don't care what they do. They don't care what they say. See, an individual who has a demon and who's influenced by one, they have no empathy. They don't care what they do. They always are looking to point. They're always looking to point the finger elsewhere and never want to take the accountability and responsibility. See, they have to always be in the shadows of the actual issues and the actual problems. They can never be in the light. See, the light would shine, and that's their biggest fear, is to be exposed. That's the one thing that they fear the most, and that's to be exposed. But I told y'all a few minutes ago, I said we had to get right into this, and I've jumped right in wholeheartedly. The big reveal is about to happen, y'all. What you talking about, John? What I'm talking about is this is a season of exposing. Yes, a season of exposing. See, God has gotten to the place where he has had enough of these pastors who have taken and have destroyed lives and have used the church and have used it for their stomping ground, their playground. God's just had enough of it. And see, I said in the other video, be careful what you do and how you try to put others in a hole and how you try to cause others to fall, because what goes around does come around. It does. And the chickens have come home to roost, and you all are going to start seeing some things happening in these churches. And some of these pastors and some of these people that have stood with these no good pastors, these things are about to be revealed. And they're about to, there's going to be some big changes. God has gotten tired. He's gotten tired. And I'm here to tell you all, hold on, be strong. Yeah, be strong. See, it looks like that, there's no justice, and injustice has happened, and many, many, many lives have been destroyed. Many people have been thrown out of the church. Many people have been ran away from the church. Many lives have been destroyed, and many people have walked away from the faith. Many people have turned their back on God because of some of these no good pastors. The big reveal is here. It's coming. Don't, and I do repeat, don't count it strange if you all start seeing some things happening in your churches that you have not seen before. Don't count it strange if you start seeing some things happening in and around dealing with your pastor. These things are not by chance. These things are by design. See, when God has had enough and he has called time on what? Called time on iniquity, called time on an individual destroying people's lives, called time on a people who have just refused to obey God and use the positions that they are in to edify Christ. He's calling time. He's calling time. And it's fine time that he do. I told you all in my last video about God's timing. He has his timing. He has his appointed time for man. He has his appointed time for judgment. And when God calls time on something, there is no force, no evil entity that you can entreat or call unto to try to buy you some time and try to basically put it off. I don't care who you're serving or who you've basically been serving up to this point. There's no help. There's no help for you. Because when God calls time on you, that's it, brother. That's it, sister. That's it. The big reveal is here. I had to come on and I had to share this with you all because this has been on me all week. I told y'all there are a lot of things that I do know, some things I can talk about. There's some things that I can't talk about, at least not yet. But you all keep your eyes open, keep your ears tuned, because the big reveal is here. And so you all be strong, you hold on. These pastors, they are not exempt. They are not somehow out of God's reach, and God cannot reach them through their iniquity and through their witchcraft and through all the things they've depended on and all the, spiritual dark entities that they have entwined themselves with over the years. That's not going to protect them. In fact, it's not protecting them now. A lot of y'all going to see some of your pastors lose their mind because they're going to come to a realization, and God's going to let them see that God's had enough. See, God is tired of you, pastor. You have played with God for so many years. You have used the church and you have had your fill of iniquity. You've engaged in some of the sickest and twisted and most demented and demonic deeds that a man could be exposed to. And in all of that, you even was bold enough to step into the church and throw people out. Rebuke them for iniquity. Call them out. Preach to them. Teach them Teach them about what holiness is and what it's not. And the whole time you had a double standard. You had a double life. Adultery in your history. Murder in your history. Incest in your history. Backbiting, lying. You wouldn't stop. You wouldn't stop trying to destroy people you couldn't control. You wouldn't stop. God warned you. Many times he warned you. Spoke to you many times. Told you to get it right. But you refused. You were so taken over by the powers of darkness, and you dibbled and you dabbled in all of these dark arts and dark things for so many years that you was like a drug addict. You couldn't let it go. The little benefits you was getting, the control and manipulation, that power felt good to you. Be able to control somebody. To be able to dumb down an individual. To be able to see somebody and look at them and just look at them go from a something to a nothing. You did that. Felt proud of it. I did that. My. You couldn't give me $50 million in $1 bills to be in your shoes. Wouldn't trade shoes with you for nothing. See, I understand this more and more that the revelations and the more and more of these things of awareness is being brought out. I see and understand now why God wouldn't let a ministry grow beyond the same individuals that you've been with, the same individuals that you've had. These are the same individuals that know your deeds. It all makes sense. God is not going to bring anybody into that. Foundation wasn't founded on righteousness. It was founded on adultery. It was founded on lies. And in your attempt to try to run from God and try to start a different program, you thought that this was actually was going to be a success and you was going to pull this swindle off and then turn around and make it to heaven. Let me tell you, I've said it before, this is nothing to play with, but y'all pastors, y'all have played and y'all have gotten to the point where y'all don't have no fear. You have no fear whatsoever for the living God. So God has to show himself to you. He's got to prove himself. He's got to show you who he is. See, you all have played with him for so long that you don't even believe in the very one that you're preaching and teaching about. You've gotten to the point where he's just an imagination, a figment of your imagination, a character of the Bible. And yet you use his standards and you preach these standards to people and you have expectations for other people to follow these standards. But you're the whole time the puppet master. Yes, the wizard behind the curtain. Pulling the levers, manipulating people. Using your witchcraft and your dark arts. The big reveal is here. The big reveal is here. And it's got your name on it. Y'all members, if there was ever such a time to pray, this is it. This is it. Because y'all going to see some things that you don't understand. You're going to see some things that's going to have you conflicted and confused. But if I could tell you anything through all of what you're going to see, know this, God hadn't changed. He hadn't changed. Put your trust and your confidence in him. Keep your eyes on him. And you all won't be distracted by all this other stuff. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. Some of y'all pastors, some of these pastors out here, some of y'all church members is looking at this video. Y'all gonna see some things that's gonna totally overthrow your faith. I know there's some that's looking at this video now and they're gonna be overthrown. And that ought to really tell you something. You were overthrown because you were so rooted and connected to a man. You had so much faith and confidence and trust in a man to the point that he was your God. And when your God failed you, then you failed too. Because you felt like there's no hope. There is nothing that I can look forward to. Because if this man who's a man of God can fail, then basically there's no hope for me. That's your problem. You had too much hope and had too much faith in the man that you say was a man of God. See, who your hope should have been built on was nothing less but Jesus Christ. Anytime that you have made a man an idol, I don't care if you look through the history of the children of Israel, you look through the Bible, any idol that they ever had in worship was always destroyed, came to naught. They had to see it for what it was. And so nothing has changed in this day and time. We basically have kept the traditions of the children of Israel up to this day. We still serving idols, come in the form of a man. And we get so offended. We get so offended and so upset when these things are talked about and they're pointed out. But you have to ask yourself this question. I challenge you as a member. If what I'm saying ruffles your feathers, if what I'm saying's got you boiling, got your blood hot and you warm, that's an indicator to you right there. You shouldn't be attached to nobody, no man, to the point and place where you feel like that they can err and or make errors or fail or make mistakes, and in some cases just blatantly do wrong. I mean, some of you all feel like sin is non-exempt for some people, namely your pastors. Should they be living a sin-free life? Yes. Should they be righteous? Yes. But you all feel like, I guess there's no possibility of, a man slipping or falling or just outright just jumping, head first into the pool of iniquity. See, when you are in a spell and you're under a spell, you can't understand and or see what you need to see to accurately identify it for what it is. So when somebody points out, I talked about the Stockholm Syndrome, somebody's got you, captive, and somebody's trying to tell you and rescue you, you getting mad with the authorities and the police and individuals trying to tell you, hey, listen, your mind ain't right. But you think that the person that's trying to rescue you is brainwashed. But you don't see the danger that you're in. This man who is your captor has made you captive, and he has manipulated your mind and turned your brain to think that you all have some kind of psychological and emotional connection. The abuser, the captor. So are you all going to see that? No, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see a man for who he is because you're so close to the man and you have labeled this man as such a God state-like status that, I guess he's, a champion in the spirit, I guess. Can't fail. Some of these pastors have been failing the entire time they've been preaching. The entire time they've been pastoring. Their history go back from as far as when they've been pastoring, started pastoring, even before they was pastoring. And this stuff has followed them all through the church. And the only thing that has kept it hidden is the covenants that they've made with Satan. Well, you say, well, God could have exposed it. Yeah, he could have. But God gives every man time. He gives every man an appointed time. See, some of these pastors had time to get things right. They had time to stop destroying people's lives. They had time to stop playing with the church and playing with the people. See, what God calls time, that's pretty much it. That's a wrap. That's a done deal. It's time for the big reveal. And I feel that this is the point, and this is the time of such that God is starting to reveal and expose these no good pastors. So I'm going to say to you members, hold on to your faith, because it's going to be tried. You're going to see some things you don't understand. You're not going to understand why certain things happen. You're going to be puzzled and perplexed about some things that you see that you can't make sense of. But just hold on. Just hold on. See, restitution has to be paid. And see, some of you pastors, you haven't paid no restitution. You've taken and you've taken and you've taken for so many years. You've taken and you've taken. You've taken from the people and you've taken and you've taken. And you know, it's amazing how a pastor will give and then turn around and make you feel guilty as if somehow you owe him something. But this man been taken and taken and taken for years upon years off of the backs, off of the labor of the people, the love, their money, their time, their efforts. And then turn around and con y'all into think that what he's doing is for the people. Listen, if I have a corporation, any money I put into it is going to benefit me. What are you saying, John? Plain and simple. Some of y'all pastors, you treat the church like it's your business, it's your corporation. You put money into anything that you own because you want to get a return out of it. But then you turn around and you throw that into people's face as if somehow you've given some great sacrifice. It's your business. It's your corporation. Why wouldn't you pump it into the people? Some of y'all pastors, you think it's such a great honor and great deed for you to get out there and lay a hand on a piece of wood or something and then talk about it and brag like, oh, no other pastors are doing these things. Oh, God is exposing all of it. He's exposing all of it. He see through you. He see through you. And I do too. Yeah. See, you can't hide nothing from God, and he will show whom and what he wants to whomever and whenever he chooses to do so. That's one thing you can't control with the powers of darkness. That's one thing that you can't control and go to your dark spirits and try to entreat them to block certain things and to keep people in the dark about. God done seen it. The big reveal is here. So again, to y'all members, I had to come on to the channel and I had to get this message out. There's some things that I'm really at the edge I want to say, but I can't do it. It's not time. But y'all keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Don't let your faith be shaken, whatever you want to say. Don't let yourself be rattled by what you see happening, because it's all by design. And what God is doing, you ain't going to be able to point the finger and blame it on the devil, because you're going to know that it's God. See, the first thing we want to do, we want to dismiss things and put it off on the devil. Oh, that devil's just getting in this, and the devil's just having his way, and the devil's just mad. And we want to blame the devil for a lot of this stuff. No, it's God. I'm here to tell you, it's God. It's God. The big reveal is here. It's God. Keep your eyes open. Anyway, I just had to get this message out, and to whomever this message needs to go to and whoever needs to hear this, you all will hear this message, because you know exactly what I'm talking about, naturally and spiritually. And you know exactly the things that you are seeing and the things that in the spirit that are coming through. And you're seeing some things that you have never seen before in the entire time of your life and the entire time of your time in the ministry. You're starting to see things change. There's a shifting going on. That's called the big reveal. God is changing some things. He's revealing some things. He's exposing some things, and there's not a devil in hell that can stop him. So Y'all be encouraged. Don't let what you see and what you experience overthrow your faith. Depend on God. Call on Him. And He'll be the one to strengthen you. I'm here for anybody that needs to talk, the things that you need to understand that you don't quite understand. I'll try to help you to the best of my ability. I have been doing that. Some, you know who you are. I will continue to do that. But this message here goes out to the masses. Keep your eyes open. Stay prayerful, and stay rooted. Because when man fails, no matter how he makes a mess of things, doesn't make a change with God. God is still the same. It doesn't change God one bit because a man failed. Because a man played for 40 and 50 years of ministry and basically has made a mess and a shipwrecked over and over, and God has warned them. He has sent warning after warning, and they have played with God. It doesn't change who God is. So don't focus on what you see, what you're going to see. Know that God hadn't changed. Jesus is the same today, yesterday, and forevermore. So y'all be encouraged. And we'll be doing some more talking, as I always say. But until next time, peace.